Hi everyone, my name is Maria and welcome to our first class together. Today we're going to be discussing 5 basic skills every guitarist should have before they actually start playing the guitar. I'm very excited to be having you guys, and don't forget that this class is for all ages and it's never too late to start. If you have your own guitar and you want to start playing, let's do it now. Throughout our video, I'm also going to be posting some materials that you guys can use and that you guys can learn after, so the lesson is going to be more interactive. So if you're willing to start playing, let's go over the first 5 basic skills everyone should have. I'm going to go over them in this order. The first skill is going to be you learning what kind of guitar you have and the components of the guitar. The second skill is going to consist of the accessories of the guitar. The third skill is going to be about learning how to tune the guitar and how to hold it. The fourth skill is going to go over basic strumming patterns and how to play the strings. And in the last skill, which is the 5th skill, I'm going to be briefly talking about the musical notes and I'm going to be explaining to you the notation. By the end of this video, you're going to be confident in all of your guitar skills, so if you're excited to start, let's go ahead. Let's go over the first skill you should learn. We're going to be talking about the types of guitar and the components of the guitar. I'm going to be posting some pictures on the screen throughout this video as well. If you've always wanted to start playing the guitar, you might have heard that there are different types of guitars. The guitar that I'm holding right now is an electric guitar. However, there are many other guitars out there, like classic and acoustic. The kind of guitar that I have is a 16-line Fender guitar. And if you don't know what kind of guitar is right for you, I'm going to be making a video separately about how to find the right guitar for you and how to know what size of the guitar you should have. There's a full size, like this one, or there are even smaller guitars out there. Usually children or people who have never played the guitar before tend to go for a smaller size, so they go for smaller guitars. However, I always recommend to all the people around me and all of my students to go for a full size, because this way you can kind of form yourself around the sound and where to place your fingers. Now I'm going to be posting here a picture of different kinds of guitars. Remember that guitars differ from size to the sound to what kind of guitar it is, and even the length of the neck, which is a very important thing to know. Some guitars may seem to be longer, which means there's more notes that you can play on the guitar, or some are even shorter. Usually I like going for guitars with longer necks because I feel like I have more songs that I can play on it and I'm more free to use it. Right now I am playing on an electric guitar, and throughout most of my videos I'm going to perform on my electric guitar. Now I'm going to be going over the components of the guitar. This guitar that I'm holding here is an electric guitar. You might notice that the classic and acoustic guitar have a different body shape from the electric guitar. The electric guitar here that I'm holding has 2 points, 2 extreme points here, and 2 curves, this one and this one. Usually this curve here on the top is for placing your hand over the guitar, and this one is for the leg and maintaining the weight of the guitar. Now the guitar has 3 important components: the head of the guitar, where the pegs are and where the tuning is happening, the neck of the guitar, where there are the strings and the frets, and then the whole body of the guitar, which differs from guitar to guitar. Usually classic or classical guitars have a rosette in the middle where the sound is produced. However, electric guitars have doses that are amplified and that make the sound. My guitar and many other electric guitars usually have buttons here or a lever for the sound and a port where you put a plug. Here is the bridge that holds the strings in place. Now, if you don't know what a string is, it is either metal or plastic little thing that produces the sound. The strings of the guitar usually have a different length than the strings of like a harp or a violin. Now, the neck of the guitar is the one that has the strings stretched out, is the one where you place your hand to play the guitar, and is the one that also has frets. Now, the fret is basically a small little space that separates different sounds from one another. If you play on the 1st fret, it's going to sound different than playing on the 7th fret, for example. So if you want to know what kind of song you want to play, you should know what fret to play on. Now, this is very important to know because a lot of songs have either in the paper sheet or in the tab a small description saying on which fret you should play. Now, the last part is obviously the head. Here on the head we can see some pegs. These are for tuning. Tuning is basically getting the guitar in tune, making it sound like a standard guitar and making it sound after standard notes. I'm going to be showing you in the 3rd step how to tune the guitar as well. Now that we talked about the first step, let's move forward with our second step, which is the accessories of the guitar. Obviously, if you've never played the guitar before or have just bought a guitar and want to start, you might want to know what kind of accessories you might need. I'm going to talk about a few accessories that I would personally recommend, and they're going to be in the order of the importance of them. Now, the first accessory or piece of equipment that I would recommend is a guitar stand, where you put the guitar on top and it stands up. This is really good because this can prevent the guitar from being knocked over or getting dusty or dirty. So personally, I would recommend you get that. Now, the second piece of equipment or accessory that I would recommend is a capo. I'm going to be posting a close-up of how to put it on, and you just take the guitar and press on it and put it on the fret that you want to play on. You might notice that in some songs or tabs or paper sheet, the capo shows in the description as capo fret 2 or capo fret 3. This means that the capo is placed on the 3rd or 2nd fret. And if you don't know how to count, you basically have the 1st fret, the 2nd, the 3rd, and so on. Now, obviously, another piece of equipment that I would recommend is the guitar cover. In this thing, you basically put the guitar in and carry it around with you. It is very easy to use. Most guitars come with it in like a set. But if it doesn't come with it, make sure you buy one, because this way you can take your guitar around with you anywhere you go and you can play outside of your home. Now, the last set of equipment that I would recommend you to get is obviously an amplifier. If you want to play the electric guitar, you need an amplifier, otherwise it will not sound great. But a lot of other guitars, like the classic or acoustic guitar that are for concerts, also have the amplifier. Obviously, some amplifiers come in a set of the guitar, but this is the amplifier that I have. I would love to recommend it to you, but it depends on what kind of guitar you already have or what kind of amplifier you're searching for. My amplifier is a basic amplifier. It doesn't have a lot of options, but it does have some buttons that are easy to use and very good. And obviously, you might want a cable that you can connect the guitar with. I'm also going to be showing you a close-up of how to do it and how to put a cable in your guitar. You basically put the cable in your guitar and then in your amplifier. Obviously, if you want, you can add other accessories, but these are the basic accessories that I think everyone should have. Now that we have finished our second step, let's go over our third step, which is tuning the guitar and knowing how to hold the guitar properly in a good, correct position. Now, obviously, if you've never had a guitar before, you don't know anything about tuning or how to hold it, you might have seen some pictures or videos, but it doesn't really explain how to hold it, does it? So we're gonna start with the basics. If you don't know anything about tuning the guitar, you might need to buy yourself a tuner, which is another accessory. I don't have a tuner, I don't like using a tuner, but I do have an app for tuning, which is Guitar Tuna. This video is obviously not sponsored at all. Now, I believe that the app is very easy to use. You basically have to play every single string one by one, and at the end you have to like tighten up or untighten the pegs. Now, if you want to play the guitar correctly and in a correct position, you must always understand that the guitar is always standing on your left leg. Now, I usually like to position my left leg higher than my right leg. I usually like to take like a board or a plastic box that I can put my leg up on. Now, I did mention about the curves, and this curve here is supposed to go over your left leg like this. Your guitar should be placed in a position where the head of the guitar is not like this, but higher than your shoulders. This would be the correct position to hold the guitar. The head being higher than my shoulders and the little curve here being over my left leg. Let's position our hands as well. You must know that the guitar should usually be in a straight position. Not like this, but like this. In order for you to be able to see the strings and be able to see the guitar. Now, as of the left hand, you should always keep your hand open. The big thumb should be separated from the left of your fingers and it should go on the back of the neck, like so. The rest of the fingers should be rounded up in a position that allows you to have enough movement. You should always keep a relaxed hand so you can move your hand around and play any song that you want. If you tighten up too much, you might not be able to move your hand too freely anymore. Now, as of your right hand, you should go over the curve and hold it like this. Here is a big curve, but here is a little tilt on the guitar. So you might want to take your hand like this, put your elbow on the guitar, and round up your hand like this. The correct way to do it is by using these 4 fingers. The pinky finger is not used to play the guitar and it is incorrect to use it. So we're only focusing on these 4 fingers. They should be also rounded up in a position like this, so you can be able to strum. Now that we have learned the correct position on how to hold our guitar, let's go over our fourth step, which is basic strumming and playing the strings one by one on an open string. The left hand is always the one in charge of changing the notes, while the right hand is the one in charge of touching the strings individually or as a strum. A strum is when you hit all of the notes at once, or all of the strings at once, or maybe you exclude the first or the last string. A strum is usually down or up or a combination of the two. In order to play the strum, you must hold the correct position for both of the hands. Remember that the left hand should be an open string and should not touch any of the notes, while the right hand makes the four fingers come together and hit the strings at once. We're gonna do this movement together. Let's try it. So our fingers come together and we hit all of the strings at once, like so. Let's try it again. Good. Now this was a down strum. Now if you want to do the up strum, you do the same thing but on the opposite direction, like so. Let's try it again. Good. Now, if you want to make a combination between the two, you can do a down-up or an up-down. Let's do a down-up. Good. Should we try it again? Good. Now we have done a down-up strumming pattern. Let's try to do the opposite thing, an up-down strumming pattern. Up, down. Let's do it slower. Up, down. And let it ring. Good. Now we have learned the basics of the strumming patterns. Now let's go over playing the strings one by one individually. Now, usually every single finger has its own string to play. Usually the thumb is the one that takes most of the notes and most of the strings. It usually takes the first three thick strings, and the other three fingers take the other three strings. Now, let's try and play every single string individually. We're going to try and play the first string, which is a thick string, which is an E. We're going to take our thumb and place it on the first string. And in order to ring it or to make a sound, you must hit it with your thumb, like this. Let's try it again. With our big thumb, you ring the first string. Good. Now let's move forward to our next string, which is an A string. Same thing, but we move from here, here, with our big thumb, like this. Let's do it again. Good. Let's move forward with our next string. We're also gonna keep using the thumb for now. So from the second string, we're gonna move forward to our third string, which is a D string. Again. Now the next part might be a bit complicated because you're gonna start using these three fingers. In order for you to differentiate the strings between one another and your fingers from one another, you must play consciously. You must be very aware of what you're trying to play and what sound you want to get out of the string. So in order for you to play the next three strings, which are high-pitched strings, you must use these three fingers in this order, like this. So you're gonna place your hand in the same position, like this, and use these three fingers for every single note. And you're gonna try and ring them one by one. Let's start with our fourth string of today, which is a G string. We're gonna play it with this finger. Let's try and play it together. Good. Let's do it again. Good. Now this was a clean sound. Let's move forward to our next string, which is a T string or H string or B string. We're going to be discussing about the notes later on. Let's try and ring it. In order to ring a B or H string, you're gonna use this finger in the middle and place it on our fifth string of today. Good, now let's move forward to our last string of today, which we're gonna ring with this finger. From the same position, you place your finger on the last string of today and ring it. Now, this was a mistake of mine, but try to not raise your hand from this position when playing. Good, this was clean. Let's try it again. Good. Now we have played all strings individually and also have learned strumming patterns. Now throughout this part of the video I have mentioned that these strings each have names, but I haven't quite talked about them in order. But you must know that this string, which is the furthest away from you, is always the number 1 string on the tabs or the paper sheet. I did, however, play them in a different order. People usually start counting them from the string that is furthest away from you, which is the first string, even though I started with this one. But I felt like this one was easier to play for beginners. However, on tabs, you will always find this string, the most high-pitched open string, as the first string. Now that we have learned about strumming patterns and the strings, we can move forward to music notes. Now let's go over our last step, or the 5th step, which is going to be the music notes. Throughout the years, people have discovered that different things make different sounds. But in order for you to know what kind of sound it is, you have to make a different notation or name them a certain way. For that, we have the musical notes. Usually people like to use this pattern over here, which counts the notes from do to do. There are 7 notes, or 8 in an octave. If you don't know what an octave is, it's basically a combination of notes from the first note repeating itself at the end. Or you can also use the ABC notation. Me personally, when I talk about chords, which is more notes in one play, I like to use the ABC notation. However, when I talked about individual notes on the paper sheet, I usually like to use the do, re, mi notation. This might sound complicated at first, but throughout the years and throughout the months of you experiencing these things, you're gonna get used to it and it's gonna be a normal thing. However, if you have no musical experience and have never played the guitar before and know nothing about musical notes, I advise you to learn them one by one and have this chart here around you for you to check it out and know what you want to play. Now, what I also recommend you to do is get a music notebook, because that's very useful. You can learn how to write them as well, how to read it. I don't recommend you to learn only by tab, but also by reading paper sheet and knowing what you're actually playing. A lot of players try to play only by tab, which I personally don't recommend. I think it's best for you to also try and read paper sheet and know how to write notes by hand. Now we know that every single sound is a different musical note. Obviously there are notes in between these standard notes, but that's what we're gonna talk about in a separate video. Now, obviously, if you wanna learn how to play the guitar, you must know the open strings that have different notes and different names. The strings on the guitar, the open strings I mean, have different names. The first and the last string have the same name, which is an E string. The 5th string is an A string. The 4th string is a D string. The 3rd string is a G string. And the 2nd string is a H or B string. I'm going to talk in my future videos about the difference between an H or a B string. Even though people usually call them the same, they usually have different meanings, and in order for you to understand which one you should write down, you must have some music theory knowledge that we're going to be discussing in our future videos. Now that we talked about the music notes, let's talk about tuning. In order for you to tune your guitar correctly, you must reach a certain note. So obviously, since we talked about the notes on the open strings, you must always have those notes on the guitar if you want to start playing. Sometimes the strings can go down by themselves because they untaken over time, but that's why you must tune your guitar to get the note back in place. For that, I have previously mentioned that I use Guitar Tuna, and in order for you to use that app, you must have it downloaded and play the strings like so. So you have seen in the previous video that I used the pegs to tune the guitar up because it was a bit lower. So in order for you to know how to tune your guitar, you must use the pegs and tune them up or down. Now, what I do advise you to do is, if you buy a brand new guitar or change your strings for the first time, do not tune your strings all the way through at once. Do it progressively so that your strings will not rip apart. If you have brand new strings, you must not do the peg all the way up and try to tune it all at once, but try to do it one by one until you get to the sound that you want to reach. Now I believe I have talked enough about the music notes and the tuning. Now I'm obviously gonna do more videos where I talk about other stuff more in depth, like music notes and reading paper sheet, but that will be a video for another time. For now, I want to thank you so much for watching this all the way through. If you want to contact me for booking or anything like that, you have my details in the description. Now don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you want to see more videos like this in the future, comment down below what kind of videos you want to see. This was all for today. These were the 5 basic skills that every guitarist should have before they actually start learning the guitar. Thank you so much for watching, and I wish to see you soon in my next videos.